from the West, the POV of the East is like, okay, we are a little bit more restricted by our government. But I would say, particularly in our country, Singapore, we are more like in the middle. So it's like if you are super controlled in, let's just say, China, and you're super free in US, right? Picture a 50%, that's where Singapore is.
Yeah.
At. Okay. So oftentimes we are always saying that, the government is not supporting the arts. It'll be easier if I can move over to the US and I'll definitely make it, and they will definitely quote an example like you grew up with 4B, that's how you manage to get these kind of like big breaks, whereas in Singapore it's like impossible for us to get any of these big breaks. So I don't know, what is your perspective as a person that's like living in US? Is it indeed easier or is it actually worse?
No, it's probably harder. So many competition? It's definitely harder because you think about you guys, right? Like there's definitely not as much competition locally for you guys. And I always tell my students in my PURARI Production Academy, like, you want to be a big fish in a small pond when it comes to this stuff, right? So you want to be one of the biggest fish in the pond so that you're at the top of the food chain. You're the first the promoters think about. You're the biggest in your city, right? Because if you're not big in your city, like, I'm not going to say you're not going to make it, but it definitely helps being the biggest in your city to now go to other cities, especially here in the US. But the problem where, my market's from is that, like, we're big fish in a giant pond, right? So yes, there are big fish, but there are also like small fish or medium-sized fish, and that they're also now eating and getting bigger, right? So it's a lot harder for us to quote unquote make it. But at the same time, you ever like hear like a business, like let's say a coffee shop, and they're doing well, and then another coffee shop opens right next to them, and it's like, well, why would that coffee shop open right next to it? Well, no, because it creates competition, and competition sometimes is good. It makes you work harder. Yes. It makes you do this. So for me, did I grow up and DJ clubs with 4B and a lot of these other guys? Yes, absolutely I did, and that's what made me the artist that I am today, is because that competition and seeing what they've done and trying to stay on my game always kept me on my tippy toes. And that's why I was able to, keep excelling and progressing. Maybe it's a situation where, like, for example, there's not enough people in your circle that are helping you push the boundaries a little bit, Like for me, I keep people in my circle that help me push. Where like, my manager will be like, yo, this isn't good enough. You got to do this. Or, you got to go play here. Oh, well, I don't want to go play there. Trust me, you want to play here. Like they'll give me these reasons to keep pushing and maybe not stay comfortable, because it's easy to fall comfortable. So moving to LA or moving to New York is not going to help you make it unless you are bringing something that separates you from everything else. So whether it's this podcast, right? Let's say you move to a city where there's no podcasts, and now you're becoming like the best known DJ in the area because you host this podcast, then that's the right move for you. But I always feel like location is a lot of it, and just keeping, competition, going, at least friendly competition in your market. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to blow up if you just change location. So
yeah, these are two very good points. It's like in Singapore, my neighbor is like, bunch of unknown DJs, right? So obviously it's easier to become big in this very small pond. But then for you, it's like your neighbor is 4B, that's like crazy.
Right.
How do you even like, top that? Yeah, that's a great perspective.
Yeah, and we still have very talented DJs here that just want to be DJs. So there are turntablists and stuff like that, being from New York, that like they're amazing DJs and they just want to DJ these clubs. And yes, do they have the opportunity to travel some of them now? Yeah, definitely sometimes. But some of them just want to play in Jersey. So now you have to compete with that as an EDM big room artist. I'm trying to compete with like this turntablist who's insane. But fortunately for someone like me, I come from like an open format DJ background, almost like I was playing hip hop and stuff. Like I always loved dance music, but like in college, like that's all I would play is hip hop and this and that. So yeah, can I walk into a room and play anything, or can I reset the room? Yeah, absolutely. If I have to do that. But if you're booking PURARI in 2024, you're going to know it's high energy, fast dance music. But can I dip down to hip hop? Absolutely. But I think that's what makes it like a cool experience for the fans, because they'll be like, oh, yo, he just played a Party Up DMX record. Like, yo, that's amazing. This Big Room guy just played that, right? Because they're expecting to hear Big Room, and then I'll play that. But then, you know, you'll take that turntablist from New York or that guy that's been DJing all of these genres, and he'll be like, well, what's so good about that? I play that record every single night. Well, yeah, you play that every single night, but you also play this record by Bad Bunny, and then you play this record by Hardwell, and like, the fan doesn't know what they're going to see and pay. Like, they're not buying a ticket to go see you because you play all of these genres. Like, yeah, they may have purchased a ticket to go see you play because they loved your Bad Bunny set last week, but then this week you're playing and they spent money and you're playing all dance music. So that's why, like, when you're making that transition from an open format DJ to an artist, like I mention this quote all the time, but Eminem said a quote like, if you stand for nothing, or if you stand for everything, then you don't stand for nothing, right? Stand for something, stand for a genre so that people know, and then you can do all these other things, but stick to that one thing so that people know you by that.